What's cracking, y'all? It's your boy Skip, back with another video. I got two things for you today. Three, kinda. I got some show and tell for you, and then I want to do a quick video walkthrough of the core gameplay loop of Okkam. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. First, I want to show you the three new color variants that have been unlocked. So, the original three, if you remember, are Blood and Gold, Rubricated Manuscript, and Magic User Purple. So I added three to the possibilities, and here they are. The first one is man-machine interface. It's kind of like a limey green with black ink. The second one, I'm just calling Medic, because it's, I don't know, that's what spoke to me. Medic. And third is Void Relic. It's black on black. It's kind of hard to tell in this video, but it's kind of like it's matte black. Is it hard to see from far away? Yes. Is it sick as hell? Also yes. Also keep in mind that all of these are prototypes, right? So what you're seeing here is not what you're gonna get. These are all made with water-based inks. So they're kind of smudgy in parts and they're not 100% great. So I am going to use some archival waterproof oil-based relief inks for the covers. They're gonna last a long time. They're a little shinier, like the ink is a little shinier than what you're seeing here, and they give a slight kind of like relief, like raised portion to the image. It's gonna be sick. And yeah, the other show and tell I have for you is I have a prototype of the story module that I've been working on as part of the stretch goal. It's called Doom Riders. So Doom Riders is like a mini campaign setting that is basically like post-apocalyptic Australia. So think like Tank Girl with Mad Max, Waterworld, that kind of vibe. It has some lore pages. It's got new rules for character creation. So there's some additional stuff because the whole thing with Doom Riders is it's tanks. So you're like post-apocalyptic tank driving vigilantes, and so there's kind of like a more advanced character creation section where you're gonna pick specific tags, like you get a virtue and a vice tag, you're gonna pick your tank loadout, and then there's lore, there's factions, there's NPCs, there's gear and item cost lists, new rules just for playing this style of game. So like alternative advancement, for example, during rest, you advance if you have A, initiated an act of wanton violence or chaos, saved or taken the life of someone who didn't deserve it, or paid someone back for messing with what you love. And then there's a randomly generated mission table in the back. It's a work in progress, but we're going with Doom Riders. Post-apocalyptic desert tank driving punks. If that's not your jam, I'm gonna make more of these, okay? The plan is to release like a fantasy one, like a cyberpunk one, like a grim, dark sort of setting too, and also like some like magical high school kind of nonsense. Anyways, Doom Riders is number one, so yeah, hope you like it. Also, post in the comments below of the options so far for like the color variants, right? Like Blood and Gold, Rubricated Manuscript, Medic! Man-machine interface, Magic User Purple, or Void Relic. What's your jam? I want to hear it. Also, that helps me get an idea of what I'm going to be printing in like a month or so. So, yeah, that's all I have to show you today. So, without further ado, I'm going to do the core gameplay walkthrough. Let's get cracking. Okay, core gameplay loop. Now, a lot of this is pretty standard RPG fare, so we're going to skip through it and just get to the things that I think make this chapter interesting to read. So the first thing is to start the story, describe the PCs in an interesting situation, make something happen, and ask, what do you do? Okkam starts off with a bang. Once the PCs are introduced, whether you're playing a one-shot or whether you're playing a long campaign, you're going to say, make something cool happen and say, what do you do? There are no turns. You can act in any order. The guide can make the environment or its inhabitants take action whenever they like, but the guide cannot harm or hinder PCs without giving them a chance to respond. So what's going on here is, earlier in the text, it does state that the guide is responsible for moving the spotlight equitably around between the PCs, but the guide can act make the world act whenever they want to. This is a great way to control the difficulty level of challenges or opponents. So if you want a challenge to feel more dramatic or hard, you can just make it act more. You can force the PCs to react more. But again, you cannot do anything to the PCs without giving them a chance to respond. You cannot say the shopkeeper slaps you or you are charmed. You have to say the shopkeeper reaches back to slap you. What do you do? Or you feel a strange feeling coming over your brain as the wizard stares into your eyes. What do you do? So it's an agency thing, I guess. The guide describes the outcomes of PC's actions. Use common sense to decide the outcome of most actions. Please use common sense to decide the outcome of most actions. That is a rule, not an option. PCs have access to all common knowledge and are experts at anything related to their tags. So there's no knowledge roles in Okkam. Either you know it or you need to find out how to know it. This kind of ties back into tags too in an interesting way. So tags, you can have broad traits, learned skills, or single effect abilities. Traits like charming are useful in a wider variety of situations, but don't grant any real expertise. Meanwhile, diplomacy as a tag might be useful in slightly less situations, but it does give you some knowledge of governments, documents, anything reasonable. I'll compare that to an ability tag like compel thought, which has a different range of usefulness, but it's risky, it has a drawback or cost, and it doesn't imply any expertise. So when you pick your tags, they all kind of give the same bonus during rolls, but that knowledge piece might affect your choices sometimes. Now we get into the part of the actual core gameplay loop. So when a PC acts, I want to go back for a second here. Hidden or obscure knowledge must be discovered by taking appropriate actions in game, and if a PC looks for something in a reasonable way, they find it, unless it is hidden in a way that would require very specific actions. If they seek it, they find it. Secret doors that never get discovered are no fun. Traps that are just HP depleters are no fun. We want them to find the fun stuff as long as they want to find it and work for it. We want them to treat traps like puzzles. We want to reward them for interacting with the game world. Do not hide treasures. Do not hide secret doors. Do not hide traps. Tell them just a little bit, just enough to get them thinking, and let them take it from there. Never let the PCs miss cool stuff. And never treat a trap like a punishment. Treat it like a puzzle. Anyways, core gameplay loop. When a PC acts, you're going to ask the following questions. Number 1, is it reasonable? Enemies in Okkam do not have hit points, okay? A tank has the same hit points as an infantry soldier. The difference is a tank is harder to destroy because it's armored, has 3 different weapon modalities, etc. So what this is saying is you can't 360 no-scope the dragon in one shot. Not because it has 400 HP, but because it's a fantasy fighter jet. It's not reasonable. Swimming across a river with your limbs tied up is not reasonable. Causing your arch nemesis to have a crush on you with one conversation is not reasonable. You can't do some stuff going back to the common sense rule. If it's reasonable, though, you're going to go to the next question. Does the action have requirements or costs? This is basically, it could be as simple as it costs money or it uses up a resource. But it could also mean that something else, another action is required. A really common thing that happens is the guide says, the robot strikes you with a fist. And a player says, I stab it. Well, you still got to avoid the fist first, okay? You avoid the fist, then you can take your attack. So some actions have requirements that are just like reactions or prerequisite actions or resource costs. If the requirements are met, you go to the next question. Are there obvious risks? In Okkam, you only roll dice when there are obvious and important risks. Otherwise, guides just say yes, or yes, but, or no, but, okay? Most things just happen. If you do the math of the rolling, which will be explained next week, a roll with no bonus actually has a very low chance of full success. That is intentional, okay? We want players to be planning, thinking about the world realistically, exercising caution, and using teamwork to mitigate the risks involved in rolling. Down below, last thing, this dude next door is doing yard work, I apologize. Action flow chart. This is just a visual representation of the core gameplay loop. That's it. There's a gameplay example on the next page. that's all I got for you. Next week, we'll talk about what happens when you go to the dice rolling part, and you got to get those dice out. Until then, leave me a message in the comments down below, questions, comments, concerns, queries, etc. And be sure to let me know what colors you're excited about. I'll see y'all next week. Stay rad.